kind of hinted or recommended, highly recommended her, the BCLI cohort. One of my dreams for equity, I am currently, I work for the state of Minnesota in housing. And housing to me is, and this is kind of a buzz, right, of how we kind of frame things at the agency is I feel that housing is definitely the breath of all communities, and really kind of making sure that equities are looked at every single lens that there possibly is, whether it be homeless, Native Americans, race, economic development, transportation, and so forth. So it's really making sure that everybody gets the correct bite of the apple, and not just everyone gets an apple. So just really kind of looking at that at that lens. Hopefully that even made sense. So, but I will probably continue to talk later about my reflections. So.
Or anyone else want to go?
Yeah, so there are a few people who just recently joined. If you would be so kind to introduce yourselves. If not, I can also go next.
Sure. My name is Noemi Arocho, and I am a coworker of Q. And I identify, who do I identify as my community? Gosh, to me, it's everyone that's around me. Community can be viewed in so many different ways, and I feel that when you view as everyone around you as your community, you have a duty as well as a privilege to impact so many people. I heard about BCLI through Q in Mira Lee, who is my manager. To piggyback off what Q said, my dream for equity is for communities of color and children of color to have the same opportunities, to have the best housing, the best education that they can have.
Thanks, Noemi. Jessica or Stephanie or Ms. Jackson, when do you want to go?
Good evening, one and all. I identify with universally, if you will, with emphasis on people of color, further emphasis on African American people, further emphasis on African American youth, and further emphasis on African American females. In terms of region, it's been had a heavy emphasis on North Minneapolis. And initially I heard about BCLI some years ago through Miss E at Urban Homeworks, and most recently with Ms. Elaine Rasmussen. And in terms of equity, I just want everyone to do the right thing and to treat all of us as human beings.
Great, thanks. Jessica or Stephanie?
I got some background noise, so I'm gonna make this very quick. My name is Stephanie Lewis. I identify as a Black woman, and that's the communities I most align with. How I hear about BCLI is through Terry Tao. She put it up on, I think Locust or on Facebook, one of those on her thread, and I gravitated towards it. What's one dream I have for equity in our region? I want to get really specific. My dream is to have equity in our workforce development to ensure that that the future of work do not leave Black and Brown people behind, and that we do not have these huge gaps in vacancies for folks that in positions that have upward mobility, and that is equitable, and people don't necessarily have to have a college degree in order to access these jobs. That's it.
Yeah, thank you. Jessica, you want to go? Jessica, did you want to go? Otherwise, I can go to the next slide.
Chad, did you still want to introduce? Did you still want us to introduce ourselves?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go into the next slides, and I'll kind of breeze through these because there's a lot of information, and I want to respect everyone's time and leave a few minutes for Q&A, and especially to have our two alumni who've joined us to be able to talk about their experiences too. So the goals for today is that we understand both who Nexus is and who what BCLI is, so that we understand better why Nexus has a BCLI program, and then a little bit more about the broader strategy in the program. In terms of Nexus, we're a 16-year-old nonprofit. We're a medium-sized nonprofit right on the edge of St. Paul, Minneapolis. We're on University and 280, right off of the Raymond Green Line station. We've been in existence since 2014. We work with people, and we target all of our work towards doing work in communities of color and also through a racial equity lens. We started work in 3 neighborhoods in the Twin Cities, but now we are doing work region-wide. Our 3 shifts are authorship, ownership, and leadership. And the BCLI program is housed in the 3rd bucket, which is leadership. We we re-grant, and in the last 16 years, we have re-granted about $13 million to date. And we have deep and strong community relationships. We convene tables, and we help connect partners and folks in the community. The origin story of the BCLI actually is in the Bay Area. It's about 11 years ago. And there's a PLCI-led social justice, environmental justice organization in Oakland called Urban Habitat. They've been around over 20 years, but in 2009, as they were doing campaign organizing, issues organizing, as they like to do in the West Coast, they're organizing around a lot of local issues and realized that they're coming up against roadblocks in the local governments, including at the boards, committees, and commissions level. And so they realized that, you know, a lot of these boards and commissions don't reflect the community, and they don't have representation from the community. And so they created a leadership program called the BCLI, and they started training their own people to get on boards and commissions. And we are the 2nd replication site. Currently, there are about 13 BCLI sites across the country, from California to Hawaii to Maryland to Texas, Washington State, mostly a few California cities. So that's the story of the BCLI. Our model is that we are a 7-month cohort model, and we train people through education, through modules where we have full day Saturday sessions. There are 6 of those that run once a month from October to March. And then we have issue series, which are public learning panels, and we have 3 of those per year. And so we train folks and we place folks on boards, and we connect folks across the region and across the state. Our goal is equity, and we see equity as something separate from equality. And there's that classic picture here you see where equality is where everyone gets the same of the exact same thing. So the same square box to stand on, but equity is what we're striving for, which is giving everyone what they really need to be on an equal footing. This is what we mean by leadership. Nexus believes that a strong, equitable, and just community is one which has all members are seen as leaders. Everyone is given ample opportunities to grow into their own leadership, and people are able to represent their communities at multiple tables and in multiple spaces. In particular for the BCLI, we our fellows target priority seats, and all leaders are technically and politically prepared and supported, and that policies and resources change to reflect and respond to a community, and that's what we strive to advocate for. How is change made? These are the different levers um, of how we make change. We connect people to strategies, to funding across organizations and government levels at all kinds of government levels, and we advocate for equitable policies and procedures and laws at all layers of government. So what are boards and commissions, and what exactly do they do? Between boards, committees, and commissions, those are three types of different politically and legally distinct decision-making bodies, and that they're mostly the same, but the kinds of powers that they each have vary from city to county to regional to state and federal levels. But here's an example of all their duties, which include, researching critical issues, advising governments, reviewing policies, making decisions about the budgets, reviewing other agencies, and making reports on them, for example. Slides are loading a little slow. So how does someone advocate for racial equity as a commissioner? Well, as a person with a seat at the table, you have an opportunity to raise awareness about racial and economic equity and disparities across race and class. You get to voice the equity perspective and offer solutions from your lived experience. And you build visibility and power for community. This is not your typical leadership program. We are a social change tool to shape an equitable policy at all forms and levels of government. We focus on power and systems. Everyone, we believe, is an asset and a leader. You and I each, as a community member and as a leader, are accountable to our broader communities. And the BCLI ensures outcomes are shaped by different voices and that we're all tracking the correct outcomes. This is a picture of the cohort 4 graduation from 3 years ago. And the most important thing is that we learn and grow together as we go along this journey as the BCLI cohort. The cohort model is key to our leadership program, and also with our deep relationships in community. The ideal BCLI candidate will have, sorry, my slides are loading slow on the screen. You must be committed to social, racial, and economic justice for people of color and other underrepresented communities. You must have a racial equity analysis, an understanding of the impact of policies and the roles of systems, and experience in advocacy. That third point, don't get scared away if you don't feel like you have enough experience or adequate experience. Advocacy can mean many things in many different capacities, whether it's personal or professional. For example, if you have had to advocate for your child in the public school system or any school system, or you have to advocate for your parents, for example, if they're on public assistance, or to interpret for them at a government agency, you have had experience advocating for someone or something. You want to match the residency requirements of the boards and commissions in which you are targeting, and you must be 18 years of age and commit to attending all of the events of the BCLI through the 7-month cohort program. How does the program work? When you look at the application online, we have a list of targeted seats, and you pick from those listed between 1 and 3 that you want to get on. and you apply. You find a nominator, and if you currently don't have a nominator or you don't think you have anyone in mind, just let us know. Reach out to me or Terry, and we'll be glad to help you with that. The application is due in June, on June 12th. Oh, my apologies. This is a late date from last year. It should say June 12th. And then cohort interviews in August. And then throughout the program and after the program, we are committed to helping get you seated on a board, commission, and committee. And as alumni, we hope that you give back. The targeted seats list, you want to look at the list thoroughly and see what matches your passions and your experience and what you want to strive to learn more about or grow into personally and professionally at that level of board service. So you want to look at the seat list carefully, and while you're going through the application, and once you pick those seats, then you apply, and that's an important part of the whole process. These are the issues that we target. The issue areas are the 5 issue areas in which are the curriculum teaches throughout the Bcli program. And that's economic development, health, housing, transit, and workforce development. And these are all also linked to our Nexus wheelhouse of expertise. The levels of boards and commissions, you can see span the whole state. The core cities, the suburbs, the region, including the Met Council and the counties, and then the state of Minnesota's boards and committees. You need to have someone or an organization nominate you. And the reason we do this is because we ask that folks are thoughtful about how they show up in community, and that they have roots in community, and that they are accountable to community. So you can be nominated by Bcli alumni, faith-based orgs, labor groups, other leadership programs, grassroots communities, orgs, government, policy advocacy groups, funders, and community elders. And if you're not affiliated with the org or any of those institutions I just listed, please don't get scared off, or don't hesitate to reach out to me and Terry, and we will be glad to help you link up with an org that can nominate you. The process is this. This is the first time we've, due to the pandemic, this is the first time our application has moved entirely online. So when you go through the form, you'll notice that there are 2 online portals. The first portal is for your nominator, and there they'll fill out information on the form, and then which is the online form itself, and then they will have to submit a nominating letter. And then for you as the nominee, you will fill out the form online as well, and then your letter of interest, and then your resume. Our cohort is usually made up of between 15 or 16 different people, and these are the different demarcations and life experiences or lived experiences that we take from. There's no particular balance. The point of this graph is just, this visual just to let you know that we look at all kinds of distinctions of where people come from. In terms of the experience for the cohort composition, we will take folks who are already seated, as well as those who have never had experience being on board commission, including those who have already applied but haven't been seated, because we think that there's value in everyone learning together, including the wisdom from those who currently are seated. Again, just as a reminder, all this information is on the application too. There are 6 Saturday sessions, 1 each from October to March, and then there's 3 issue series from November through February. The Saturday sessions are full day sessions, but we feed you pretty well, and we build in breaks in there, so you don't have to worry. The issue series are public, open to the public, and they're evening events, and they're about 3 hours long, but we also feed you dinner too. The readings are not, you have to do some readings. It's kind of like a college class, but the readings are not too heavy, so you don't have to worry too much about being overburdened with readings. We are unique in that as a fellowship program, we stipend our fellows, and so Accepted fellows get a $500 stipend. The first $250 is given up front at orientation. And then the second half is given at graduation, prorated based on attendance. I can skip through this because these are the curriculum topics I covered earlier. Drilling down more to detail, the curriculum has three main different buckets. The first are political skills, as you can see there. And then the technical skills are, such things as Robert's rules and, city budgets. And then knowledge integration sessions, more particular technical knowledge, things like land use and health equity and what is a community benefits agreement, such as that. If you need help applying, don't hesitate to reach out to Terry and I. We'll be glad to help review your application along the way and help you connect with nominators if you don't have a nominator. And once you finish the program, we love to engage with the alumni. We're always communicating with and staying in touch with the alumni. This is a picture of the very first cohort. It was a small cohort. That was because it was a pilot cohort. And so you can see this is a great picture of those wonderful folks. And then in the last couple minutes here, I'll give the two alumni who've been able to join us a few minutes each to give their own testimony. But I know Linda has to go first, so I'll have her go first. So Linda, do you want to tell us a little bit more about your experience and highlights, please?
Sure, yeah. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good, yeah. So first of all, I just wanted to encourage anybody who applies and gets accepted is that to really, well, I really feel like I learned a lot. I had been a part of another program through the Wilder Foundation, and then I joined BCLI right after that program. And it was a really good, even though the other program was a leadership program, it was also teaching me about public policy and the legislative process. What this program did for me is it really helped me to understand the nuts and bolts of a board, of a commission. I've been on boards before, but this really took it to a deeper level in really understanding the equity part of being on a board. And understanding how you can really, the leadership that you can really have being a part of a commission if you get chosen for a commission. And so there was just so many things that I learned. The other thing too that I really, even though, so one thing I wanted to encourage is if you do get a chance to be accepted to this, I would encourage you to really make sure that you come to all of the Saturday sessions, because even though they're all day and they feel like they're long, Chai is right, they do feed you well. They feed you breakfast and a really nice big lunch. But what you're learning there, it's almost like a college level class, I feel, and it's being a lot of information crammed into the session. You walk away from there with a whole new set of skills that you didn't even realize that you didn't have until you get there. The other thing that I really enjoyed were the issue series as well. I believe I went to probably almost all of them, and Chai, I hope that as an alumni, I'll get invited to them. I'll continue to get invited to them because I'd love to continue to go to them. But the issue series were great as well because, as Chai said, there are other people, not just the BCLI cohort members, but there are people from the community that come. And it's also a great networking opportunity, again, like-minded people, so networking with people. The other thing that I wanted to say too, the placement and the connect. So recently, and Chai and Terry don't realize this, but I recently got asked to be on a board of directors for 360 Communities, and they're located in the Burnsville area. They are a food shelf. They also help women who have been battered, so they have a house for them. And they also do some school programming. They're helping young people. who are in different various situations within school to achieve and excel. So I got asked to be on that board, and the reason why they asked me was I talked to them about my BCLI experience, but also they were looking to bring more equity to their board. So they reached out to me and they asked me would I be on that board. So so being a part of BCLI, I feel like help me to prepare me for that. Does somebody have a question? No? Okay. And then the other thing that I was going to say too is that I recently applied for a position. And what was interesting when I applied for that position, it's a position where it's looking at equity and inclusion in the region. And the interesting thing about it is I asked them if they had ever heard Chai of the equity development principal scorecard, and they had. So it was exciting to know that I was interviewing for a position in which one of the tools that I had learned at BCLI was something that this organization had heard about. So I kind of feel, hopefully, I don't know if I'll get the position or not, but hopefully that will give me a leg up. So there are just so many things, so many positive things that I feel like are coming out of my being involved in BCLI.
Great, thanks, Linda. Q, did you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So I was actually in the same cohort with Linda. Linda and I have gotten to know each other quite a bit, or we definitely got to talking. So I want to say that one of the things that I absolutely value the most about the BCLI was actually the peers, the cohort members. You really build relationships. And our cohort members, or the cohort that we were in, included anyone from community organizers, huge advocates, community organizers, advocates, city workers, state workers, and really just kind of an array of professional or personal background. So really the networking or really having built relationships with the cohort member was absolutely key. And just knowing that other people feel you, right? I want to say that some of the biggest takeaways that I had was I've always talked about running for office, and that's still in the plans, and learning the landscape. And the BCLI really kind of taught and showed you on grounds level what the landscape is, and how to actually review it and analyze it and then kind of pull everything together to make sense of all the different types of strategies, whether it be, again, from housing, work development, transit, health equity, and how they all actually interact and connect with each other. And it honestly, all of you, to what Linda was saying, you walk away, your mind is blown after 9-8 hours of intensive information. You literally walk out of the class and you're like, oh my God, my mind is completely fried. But again, to Linda's point, it's a whole new skill set and a completely different perspective that you've never thought of before. In addition to that, Chai was talking about peer learnings and other people's experiences and hearing different types of perspectives from all different types of walks of life, and how equity was either part or not part of it. And it's absolutely intriguing, I would say. Other things that I want to say that the journey and direction, I definitely feel that I am way better off now than what I was previously before joining any boards or commissions. Currently, I am placed on Hillcrest, on the Hillcrest Planning Commission, Planning Committee. So that is a large 115-acre lot of the golf course redevelopment in Greater East Side. So I was placed on that committee as part of their housing representatives. I did also was rejected actually for my planning commission here in the city of Blaine, but I am definitely going to reapply. But other than that, really just kind of becoming a lot more civic engaged. My civic engagement has definitely increased quite a bit. And just really getting to know my representatives and whether and doing a lot of different types of um, engagement with them. So I think that's what I got.
Can I just add one thing? Because
Yep.
when Q mentioned the peer relationships, and so Q and I have gotten to know each other through the BCLI, but then also seeing her kids on Facebook. We're connected on Facebook.
Everybody sees my kids on Facebook. Yeah.
And she's one person that I remain connected with, and there are several others, and so that's the one thing too that I would encourage folks. You know, everybody kind of does that differently, but it's my intention to try to stay connected with my cohort. Q, I hope to meet your kids in person one day after COVID is over. You know.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have the barbecue at my house.
Yeah, yeah. So so that's the thing. I mean, you meet people, you build relationships, you learn a lot from one another too. So you're learning from the presenters, but you're also learning from each other in the group.
Right.
And thank you, Linda, for mentioning that. I do want to talk about the presenters. Chai and Terry and Kalia have just this crazy amount of knowledge in their head. Chai's a little sarcastic. You can't tell that right now, but once you get to know him, or just kind of observe him, he's actually hilarious. So don't let this intimidate you quite at all. But I will say that his network, or their network, is extremely huge. I want to say that the presenters, there are every single presenter that was that came to the class was doing the work. And they spoke from so many different lenses and really educated you on as real as you can possibly be. And that's what I would say. That's where I always kind of said what I was saying earlier. You walk away with your mind completely blown, because people who are doing the every single day work and looking at different types of policies on equity with the equity lens. It's really interesting how current policies are designed. And when you're just learning how to look at an actual policy and see where it can continue to displace people of color, it's mind-boggling. And I think that the presenters, as well as Chai and Terry and Kalia, have really been able to kind of just, again, put it out in plain language. And it definitely better prepares everybody to kind of say, okay, this is where it displaced this community, this community, this community, and how are we as potential board members, board and commission members, going to advocate for this, for equity. So.
All right. Thanks, Q and Linda. I only have a few more slides to go through before I open it up for questions, so we'll go ahead and go through the final 3 slides here. So kind of bragging a little bit about ourselves with our program outcomes to date. With this cohort that just graduated, we are at 99 alumni, and of those, 60 have been placed, we're currently serve on a board commission, so that's a 60%, which is one of the best percentages of all the BCLI sites across the country. And again, we have a very racially and socioeconomically diverse group of folks who've come through the program. Some samples of placements we have here are listed are high-level policy advisors to mayors, transportation advisory board on the Met Council, Ramsey County Workforce Investment Board, and then Minneapolis Community Environmental Advisory Committee. A few other more points. We don't have time for these 2 videos, and they're not conducive in a Zoom session here, so I will send them in a follow-up email to all of you who have registered here. I assume that everyone who is on the Zoom with us now had registered. And so I have your email in the Eventbrite, so I'll send those to you. So these are just a few more bragging points. And then finally, just a reminder that you'll see this on the application itself too, but these are the important program dates. So remember to have your application in by June 12th. And we begin interviews in mid-August. And we select the cohort in the first week of September and announce shortly thereafter. And October 8th is the first week that we start programming, kicking off with the welcome dinner on that Thursday, and then that same Saturday is the first Saturday session. And at this point, I will put on the last slide some personal reflections you could do on your own. While you look at that page, we will now entertain questions from anyone who has questions. Oh, I want to address one question that was not answered in the chat. It doesn't, the title of the person that is nominating you, it doesn't matter. As long as it's someone within an organization, it doesn't matter if they're a mid-level staff person or senior staff person or the ED or president of the org. Or even within, let's say, for example, different government units, we have had multiple, our technical rule is that one organization nominates one person. But we have had instances where the same city has nominated more than one person. So for example, let's say if it was St. Paul, it was one department within the city nominated one person, and then a different department within the same city nominated another. So as an example, to answer that particular question. So at this point, if anyone has questions, go ahead and ask your question. And if you want to direct them to the alumni too, feel free to do so as well.
Yes, I have a question. My name's Cassandra. So I'm wondering, where do you get the application to apply?
You said where, Cassandra?
Yes.
It's online. Did you register on the Eventbrite for this session tonight?
I registered on. Yep. Here.
Oh.
I registered on Eventbrite.
Okay, if you did, then I should be able to pull your email from there, and then I will send it to you. Otherwise, okay. Just to be safe, if you could please in the chat type in your name and email in there so that I could do that as well as an extra insurance.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Hi, this is Stephanie again. I saw the list of the organizations that are eligible. How would a social enterprise fit in that framework, or would it not?
Yeah, we didn't list out just for the sake of spacing every kind of institution, but social enterprise institution can definitely nominate someone. So if you work there, you can have someone there. It could be a colleague or a supervisor nominate you. So yes, that works too.
Thank you.
Any other questions? The real last slide here is that I'm going to show is just contact information for Terry and myself. So if you have follow-up questions that you didn't have time to ask here now, feel free to follow up separately. There's also 2 links to our Facebook group as well as our website. So you can take that information down and follow up with us directly. Otherwise, we're 9 minutes early, and so thanks you all for joining us, and Everyone have a good night. And Kelly and I will stick around just to finish getting down everyone's emails that you put in the chat. So we appreciate you all coming here tonight, especially to the alumni who were able to give up an hour of their night to join us too. So thanks to Q and Linda.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.